Hi, good afternoon, Bravers. How are you guys doing? Today is Thursday, which means it is Relationships Day in the Brave to Be Me group. So I wanted to come live and have a chat with you about boundaries and relationships. So yeah, kind of following a similar theme from the last couple of weeks. But I think that this is something that a lot of us really struggle with. So it's an important thing to address. So today in the Bravest group, there was a post about relationships, and it was asking you, are there certain people that you struggle to put boundaries down with more so than other people? And I know for myself, especially, like I've got certain key relationships where I really like have to force myself to put down a boundary. Whereas I've got other relationships where I feel quite comfortable putting down boundaries. And certainly in a professional setting, I'm quite comfortable putting down a boundary. So why is that? Like, what is it that goes on in your mind? What is that inner story that you're telling yourself about what might happen if you put the boundary down with that particular person? So, as always, awareness is important, is the first step. So, I invite you to sit and reflect on this and to create some awareness for yourself so that you know, like, what is going on beneath the surface. Just a quick sip of water. So, why is it that certain people we find it really hard to set boundaries with? And one of the things that you can consider is what is your history with that person? Because what happens is when we have an experience, every single part of that experience is committed to our memory. Even if we can't access that full memory, our brains do actually store like the entire experience. And so there will be certain aspects of that, whether it's like a smell or a song or a feeling that you have, like there'll be some like somatic aspect that you will be able to recall about like every experience you've ever had in your entire life, which is crazy. So when we have an experience, we remember it. And when we have a negative experience, we form a negative association with the person that we had that negative experience with. So if there's a particular person in your life that you have had many negative experiences with, you can, I mean, it makes sense that then you've got a whole host, almost like a whole drawer full of folders that have like files all about those negative experiences that you had with that person. And so past experience would probably be your first answer when I say, why do you struggle to put down boundaries with someone? You might say, well, I've got this past history with them, and I know that in the past I haven't been able to put boundaries down because they react badly to it. Hey, Killian. So, yeah, so you've got this whole like drawer, this portfolio of evidence, if you will, that tells you this person is not a safe person to put a boundary down with because they're going to react a certain way. And the thing is, we all have a fundamental need to be liked and loved and accepted. And so, if your need in that area is particularly strong, because I mean, it varies for all of us, but we do all have it. But if yours is particularly strong, then you might be running a loop of a story in your mind that says, whenever I've spoken up, with this person in the past, they've always like overreacted. They've gotten quite emotional, upset about that, and then that inner need of wanting to be accepted gets triggered because they basically reject me. And so if past experience has told you that person reacts badly and then you feel like you're being rejected by that person, that's going to feel incredibly unsafe. So it makes sense then that you might then hesitate before speaking up, in the present or in the future. So let me know, does that make sense? Are there particular people that you struggle with? Is it because in the past when you've tried to put down a boundary, they haven't responded well? Maybe another reason for it is that you've never tried before. And so that is why it feels so uncertain and scary because you don't know how they're going to react. So on the one extreme, you've got someone who what their reaction is likely to be because you've experienced it before, which doesn't mean they will react that way, but that's what your mind tells you. It's like, well, I've seen that 1 + 1 = 2, so therefore that's going to happen. But maybe that's not true. And then on the other side, you've got, well, actually, I've never done it with this person before, so this is uncharted territory for us. So I don't know how they're going to respond, and so that makes it a little bit scary for me. So let me know, like, which is it for you, or is it secret option C? Let me know. Okay, so the reason that boundaries are so important is because that's how we form intimacy and trust with another person. The more that we show up vulnerably with them and kind of state, like, this is where my boundary line is, this is what my needs are, this is, what I want, the more that we put that out there and trust the other person with that vulnerable information or that vulnerability, that, do you know what I mean? It's like basically you're opening your heart to someone because you don't know, you can't control how they're going to react. So if they react badly, then it might feel like they've betrayed your trust in some way. It's like you opened up and now they've like stomped all over you, and that could be quite painful. So it makes sense to me then that we don't bother trying. But when you do, and you give them that opportunity to demonstrate that they are trustworthy, that's how you build the trust and the intimacy. So there has to be some risk involved. We can't sit in our comfort zones and form, beautiful, like intimate, trustworthy relationships with people. Trust is built over time, and it's built on many small moments where that build on each other. It's not just like once off. It's not like you meet someone and go, okay, I trust you now. It's like it's built over time, and we have to be brave. We have to take a risk and put ourselves out there if we want to form trust with people. And putting down boundaries is one of the ways that you teach someone about yourself. You really show yourself, your true self. You take the mask off and you say, this is important to me, or I don't like being treated this way, or I feel XYZ. And when you have that level of honesty, you're really showing people who you are. And that gives them the opportunity to get to know you better. And some people won't respect your vulnerability. Some people will stomp all over it and it will hurt. But you won't know unless you try. So, yeah, if you've got particular people who you really struggle to have these open conversations with or to put those boundaries down with, I would say practice with people that you do have more established trust with. So start off with those safe people and begin to put down little boundaries with them here or there. And it might, maybe boundaries is, we could change the word. Maybe we could say being a little bit more assertive. So like, for example, if someone was like, what do you want for dinner? And you always say, oh, I don't mind, you decide. Maybe try it a little bit differently and say, well, actually, this is what I feel like. So practice being assertive, practice naming what you want in a safe environment with a safe person so that you can begin to feel confident with that. Because remember that confidence is about trusting yourself and your own judgment. So the more you do something, the more you trust that it's okay to do it. So practice those small things with the right people and begin to build up that confidence in yourself. And then start approaching those people that you might really struggle to have these conversations with or to be assertive with. And the other thing I would say is if you do want to start venturing out with those people that you struggle with, is start small. Try not to go, like, often when people begin to feel more confidence and a little bit more assertive, they tend to kind of overcompensate and they go from one extreme to the other, where it's like, previously they never had a voice and now they're like screaming, metaphorically or maybe literally, I don't know. But so avoid the temptation to go too far and try and take it like one step at a time and incremental steps. So, and build up to it and see where the happy medium is for you, And just remember, like, the most important thing when it comes to setting a boundary is making sure that it's not about what the other person is doing. It's about how you feel. So it's saying, like, I need to protect myself here because I'm feeling XYZ. Not you did this and so I'm going to punish you for it. It's I'm feeling like this in response to that thing that you did. So if you continue to do that, then I'm going to have to take care of myself and go somewhere else. So it's like giving them the opportunity to change what they're doing, but basically saying, like, this is what's best for me. You have the right to keep doing that, but I don't have to stick around for it. But yeah, just be very, very careful about not weaponizing a boundary and making it an ultimatum. And the key to do that, not doing that, is making it about you and not about them. So that's the first thing that's super important. And the second thing that's super important is once you've stated your boundary, you have to maintain your boundary. So if you said you're going to walk away, if that continues, you need to walk away. And that's often the hard part, like the really hard part. Like you've summoned the courage to actually say what you want to say, and now you've got to follow through on it. And it's very easy to go back on what you said because you don't want to upset the other person, or you don't want to come across like a meanie or whatever the story is that goes on in your head. But you have to maintain it. Otherwise, why will they ever learn to respect you? Because you go back on your word. You know, it's harsh, but I mean, it's true. For the dinner example, I ask what they want for dinner. They say they don't mind what I cook, but when I cook something, I get questioned why I cook that instead of this. It's so frustrating. Yeah, I get you. I feel you. So my response to that would be, why take that on board? You know, you've given them the opportunity, they've chosen not to have a say, that's now their problem. If they're not happy with what you've cooked, then you say, well, I did ask you, you said you didn't mind, so next time, you know, tell me. I mean, that's kind of a boundary, isn't it? It's like saying, okay, well, I see that you're upset by this, but I'm not willing to take responsibility for how you're feeling because, like, I've behaved with integrity. I gave you the option of a choice. You chose not to take it. That's your decision. You've now got to live with that. And okay, dinner's not like a high stakes thing, but it's a perfect example. So thank you for sharing it. It's a perfect example of what might also be a bigger thing. But remember, those small things make up the big picture. So even though it's not so high stakes, if it's an everyday occurrence, that's going to have an effect on you. So yeah, so my question to you would be, okay, well, why take that on board? Just let it go. Easier said than done, I fully appreciate. Tell me what you think. It's one of the boundaries that I really had to learn because my go-to setting, and this is the thing, sorry, when you have awareness of why certain people trigger you more than others, what will begin to emerge for you is some of your inner story, some of that inner child wounding, and it will begin to make sense when you look at the bigger picture of like, okay, I see I've got this thing that I've been holding on to. So like me, for example, I take responsibility for other people's feelings. I should say that in past tense. I am often very tempted to take responsibility for other people's feelings. But the thing is, I'm not responsible for someone else's feelings. I'll get to you in a sec, Elmarie. I'm not responsible for other people's feelings. So it's ludicrous for me to take that on. And yet that's my compulsion. So the challenge for me would be exactly like that example you gave, Killian, would be to take the person at their word. If I've given them an option and they've said, no, they're good, I'm going to assume that they meant what they said. And this happens a fair bit with some people I know where it's the same scenario. They don't speak up even though I've given them the option. And then you can sense that maybe they're a bit annoyed with what I've ended up doing. And it's like, well, I'm not a mind reader, you know. So you kind of have to just draw a line somewhere and say, I'm not willing to take responsibility for this. And that's a boundary for me. But yeah, it comes with practice. Okay, Elmarie, can boundaries bend? Yes. So I think you get two types of boundaries. You get like inflexible, like rigid boundaries, or maybe a different word for that is like a hard boundary, a firm boundary, and then you get more flexible boundaries where there's room for negotiation. So an example would be if Garth and I were having a fight, a hard boundary would be if he were to get physical with me, like push me or hit me or something like that, which he would never do. But that would be a hard boundary. And if he crossed that boundary, then I would have to walk away. And so, yeah, that's like a hard boundary. A soft boundary would be if we're having an argument and he, or more likely me, because he's quite mild-mannered, but if I, got worked up and I started shouting and he doesn't like that, then the boundary for him would be to say to me, like, please don't shout. Like, I get anxious when you shout. that would be him putting down a boundary. It's a little bit flexible because when I get angry, I do shout, like my voice goes up. That's my response. So part of it is for us to negotiate around that, and for me to say, like, my volume will increase when I'm angry, but I'm not shouting at you, and I can try and control that as best I can, but I know myself, and that is my thing. So maybe when I'm starting to do that, we just walk away and we come back when I'm calmer. But you know what I mean? It's like it triggers a conversation where it's like, okay, how do we deal with this? How can I express my anger in a way that's not going to make him feel anxious? But I also, like, I need to express my anger. So we've got to find a little bit of a middle ground there. But like expressing my anger physically, that's a hard boundary. No. So yeah, there's a bit of give and take, bit of bending there. To maintain the integrity of a stated boundary is good, and I agree, but sometimes situation changes. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, so you can be a bit flexible. Like, you can say, well, you know, at that time and place, this made sense, but now we're in a bit of a different time and place, or we're a little bit different. So actually that doesn't make so much sense anymore. You know, circumstances have changed or people have changed. And so we've got to integrate that. So yeah, and that's why communication is so important. And if you can't be open and honest, then communication's not really going to go anywhere. Yeah, it's true. It triggers my inner stories. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so the negotiation of middle ground still maintains respect. Like, sorry, the sun is like lighting up my chin here. Respect above all else, no matter what. Always, always, always respect. I always say that if you have behaved with integrity, so in other words, if you've behaved in a way that feels aligned with your values and who you are as a person, then you've got nothing to apologize for. Because how somebody feels about your boundary is actually none of your business. You know, like, just like Killian just said, like, his inner stories get triggered. So too will someone else's when you put a boundary down. Their inner story will be triggered, you know, and that's their thing to deal with. But as long as you've behaved with integrity, then that's okay. Like, they must go deal with that or not. That's their choice. But if you have not behaved with integrity and you've used a boundary as a weapon, and it's like more of an ultimatum, or you've delivered it in a way that is not respectful, then you've got something to apologize for as well. So, in my opinion, yeah. So I just think if you put it down with integrity, it's okay. But yeah, always respect. Always respect. It's one of the things that Garth and I agreed to when we got together is we were like, we will never call each other names. And that's a hard boundary for us. So like, no matter how angry we get, we won't swear at each other. Like, I would never call him a swear word. I would never call him an ugly name. And I know lots of couples, when they fight, they do speak to each other that way. And I hear people I know, like, tell me stories about arguments they've had with people, and it really, like, it's, you know, maybe it's okay for them and that's good for them, but for me and Garth, like, that would just be awful. Like, that's our agreement, is we don't speak to each other that way, and we have to maintain that, because it's about respect and trust. So earlier when I was talking about trust, you know, that's one of the components is respect, and following through on what you said you were going to do or not do. So yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'm going to finish up. I will be live in the Mindset Members group at 5 o'clock, so in 7 minutes, to talk about today's topic, which is okayness with others. So kind of continuing on the conversation a little bit. So Killian and Elmarie, maybe I'll see you over there. But yeah, and the other thing I just wanted to mention was about my Black Friday Bravers bundle. So my Black Friday special at the moment in this Bravers group has 3 different components. So the first component is 3 months in the Mindset membership. So like Elmarie and Killian are both Mindset members. They can tell you how awesome it is. Killian's a founding member. Elmarie's one of our newest members. So yeah, you can come and join us for 3 months and you can try it out. Each month we have a different theme, and we on the first you receive a blog all about the theme, a worksheet to relay it to your own experience, a guided meditation, a mantra. We have Zoom meetings so we can talk about things and check in with each other. Like, it's a really lovely, tight-knit community. Yeah, and then new from next month is to have a guest expert come and do an additional training, either live or there'll be a recording, but something to that effect. Input from somebody else other than me. You also get access to all past content, and you get discounts on my services and some special offers. So like the Mindset members have their own discounted Black Friday special. So yeah, but for anyone not in the membership, part of the Black Friday special is you get 3 months to try it out. You also get a 90-minute online energy balancing coaching session with me. So I've got my own unique hybrid, and in fact, both of these guys can tell you about it. I have my own unique hybrid session, which is a combination of an energy balancing. So we basically like help you. I hold space for you to process and release stored emotions that are kind of keeping you stuck and clogging up your energy system. So it's a very intuitive experience. It's really cool. Can get a little bit like weird sometimes. Like I kind of download, I don't know, information or intuitive messages. Like it can get a bit spooky, but in a cool way. And then I combine that with a kind of coaching styled conversation. So as we're doing the energy work, we're having a conversation, and effectively we're basically coaching. But it's not a traditional coaching session. So yeah, it's my own unique hybrid session. So you get one of those for an hour and a half. And then the third thing you get with the Black Friday specials is my Brave Toolkit. So Brave is actually the process that I take my clients through. The Brave is an acronym, and the B stands for break through old patterns. So becoming aware of how you're like thinking, feeling, and behaving, your default settings, and breaking through that so that you can become more conscious and intentional. The R stands for reparent your inner child. So yeah, that's about kind of loving that inner child again and helping them feel safe so that your inner stories don't get triggered so much. The A stands for access your inner wisdom. So tapping into your own intuition and following the guidance of that voice. Yeah, getting in touch with your like higher self, basically. The V stands for voice your vulnerabilities, which is all about relationships and being vulnerable with someone to create real intimacy. And then the E stands for empower yourself daily, which is all about taking a whole self approach to self-care and creating daily habits that are going to support you and help you feel more confident. And so the Brave Toolkit is kind of like an intro to all of that. And for each letter, you get a different tool to begin to do the work so that you can actually take action. So like, it's not just let's talk about it. It's like, do this thing. Here's a tool for you to use. Here's like a worksheet for you to fill in. There's different things for each letter. So it's quite a nice kind of Brave starter pack, or wherever you are in your journey, but to get you into action, because if you don't take action, not that much changes. Like information is just information. You've got to do something with it. And that's where the real golden stuff lies. So yeah, so that's the Black Friday special. 3 months in the Mindset membership, a 90-minute online energy balancing coaching session, and the Brave Toolkit. So if you want to take advantage of that before the end of November, please get in touch. You can email me, kirstymelwoodcoach@gmail.com, and we can sort that out. So it is priced at $128, which is an $80 discount of how much it would cost if you had to buy all those things separately. So I have moved into putting my prices in dollars, and so that's the dollar amount. South Africans, I know the reality of our economy, so if you are interested, please get in touch anyway, and I will offer you a rand rate. So yeah, so don't let that put you off. I understand our economic reality. But yeah, so let me know if you're interested in that. You can buy the different components separately as well. But if you get them together, then you get a really good deal for Black Friday. So let me know. And Mindset members, we've got our own special deal, which is even further discounted because you're a Mindset member. So yeah. All right, guys, I got to run. But if you have any more questions or anything at all, just get in touch and we can chat. Okay. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will chat to you soon. Sending you love. Mwah.